Chup. Dupa lupa. Gunda. Yep, yep. Maratuto. Siagoba fangawa. Dupa lupa. Hoto ostoga.
What's up, everybody? It's Wes, Hank, and Andy. We're back. This one, it's Tales from the Moon of Fandor, episode 3, as we look back on the 39-year-old Lucasfilm animated series, Ewoks. Hard to believe, 39 years old.
It makes me feel old.
Third episode, I have to say, for me, this was simultaneously the most interesting and most boring episode both at the same time. I don't know what it was. My first, like I said, for me, it's like watching them all over again for the first time. It's been so long.
Too much baby Phlog?
I don't know. Like the first viewing where I just watch it as a fan was just like, there were a couple of things that made me go, oh, I want to talk about that. So my subsequent viewings, when I was making the show notes, I definitely got more invested.
It just reinforces how deadly Endor is.
Yeah, it's a crazy place.
My God, like the baby, the giant cat, and the giant cat, you got to remember is scaled to the Ewoks, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're bite size.
I do have some comments about scale tonight as well, which I think is funny. It's kind of relevant, right?
There's a few awesome little weirdo things there.
And a good evening to you, TJ. Legend in the house. Good to see you again, sir.
So I did just watch it right before air, like I just mentioned.
Okay, good.
So what's funny is I spent the first 5 minutes of the episode because I had watched it already this weekend, last week, and probably 6 months before that, unfortunately.
Yeah, sure.
But I was like, did we already do this episode? It felt so
familiar.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't want to say repetitive, but there are
but some of the
it felt a lot like the last episode, a bunch.
I think some of the stuff that they do, like tonally, it's similar across the spectrum so far.
And I haven't been watching for this, but I'm wondering if there's a lot of reuse.
Well, that's a good question too. I was thinking, like the old Flintstone rotating background.
Well, it's super blatant, but I'm wondering if it's more subtle.
I don't know. I was thinking that they were doing a good job at not using like stock footage.
Sure.
But then in this episode, there's a spot that kind of breaks that for me, and it's quite hilarious. This one, it's Rampage of the Phlogs. What an interesting episode in the sense that talking about the lethality of Endor. What is it with transplanted or stranded species crash landing and never getting off?
It's like Endor proper is like a gas giant. It gets sucked into the gravity well of that, maybe,
and then slung into the moon, I guess.
Maybe.
All right, before we get going, we should probably open the show with another one of those
bad Star Wars jokes.
Taking Andy's advice, you could just look up jokes about bears,
murder bears,
and just make them about Ewoks.
Exchange bear for Ewok, and
almost
it kind of
any animal.
Yeah. So no surprise, tonight's pun comes from, hey guys, I had a dream the other night. I was eaten by an Ewok. It was a bite mare.
Oh no. Oh no.
There you go.
Yeah, it doesn't get me. I don't think it gets any more dad than that. I'm breaking format again, as apparently I like to try things on the fly. So notes this week are a little thinner. I do have slides for the entire plot breakdown, but I don't have any notes. So there'll be no reciting of dialogue. If I can't remember it, then I don't remember it. Because I found that I just don't want to get bogged down on that stuff. I mean, these episodes are rather short, and I'd rather spend more time talking to you guys and to our audience than I would reading from a script. So
Wicked.
let's try it. This will be interesting.
No, it's Wicket.
Oh, yeah,
It's wicked. You get one of those. You totally deserve that too, by the way. All right, let me change things up here before we get started here. I want that one. Haha. Something I noticed this week. And do you guys watch the credits?
Sometimes. Might not pay attention to them all the time.
I don't either, right? Cartoons, right? You think, whatever, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but that is quite little tune at the end there.
It is. Well, that's true. It is the same end credit sequence for the entire first season. And I know that because I went and I watched the end credits of every episode of this season, because something that I spotted this week prompted me to make sure, is this the same in every episode? And this might be this kind of made me chuckle, and our Canadian fans of the show might appreciate this. In the cast credits, I spotted a name, and it made me go, "What?" Canadian comedy legend Ron James. Ron James is in the cast of season 1.
Nice.
I didn't deep look too hard on Wikipedia or anything to see if he'd actually got any named roles, but I do believe he does have one episode where he has a secondary named character role.
Speaking role.
So I was going to make a slide for this and I didn't. What's funny is I went to Ron James' website after I saw this, and I noticed that there is a landing page for Contact Us, which includes an email address to a representative for interview requests. So I submitted an interview request. Within an hour, well, we'll say within 2 hours, I got not one, I got 2 emails back. The first one was from Ron's agent, who said, "Thank you for the request." Because I explained that, hey, I'm just one of 3 hosts. We host a pop culture podcast, and we do a lot of commentary on Star Wars television projects. And I said, right now we're making our way through the 1985 Ewoks cartoon, and I noticed that Ron is listed in the credits in every season 1 episode. Would he be interested in talking about working for that project for Lucasfilm, or just working in animation in general? Because he also apparently was in the RoboCop cartoon, I think.
Nice.
So his agent wrote back to say, congratulations on your show. Appreciate your keen eye for research. And he's like, I will pass the request on to Ron and see what he says. Like 45 minutes later, I get a second email. And I have to believe that with a show like this, that is so, well, it's 39 years old.
Yeah.
Most of these people have, some of them are no longer with us. A lot of them have just moved on to other things. But the answer I got was, Ron is not interested in the interview. And it was totally okay. The justification for this, and this part made me laugh, and I think as a comedian, he would appreciate me talking about this, is that the work was so old, barely remember what it was.
Yeah. Or he was getting coffee for people and didn't want to talk about it.
Man, I mean, if that's what you're doing as part of the cast, oh, man. All right.
Nelvana.
All right, this one is Star Wars Ewoks. This is episode 3, season 1. It's called Rampage of the Phlogs. Like our previous 2 episodes, it's written by Paul Dini and directed by Raymond Jellifes. The original air date, Saturday, September 21st, 1985. And as always, 22 minutes of broadcast television. Our episode synopsis this week says that Morag separates a baby Phlog from his parents and blames the Ewoks, prompting an attack. I guess before we get into the rampage of the Phlogs, I don't know. Anybody want to know what a Phlog is?
It's a giant, but there's 2 versions there.
Maybe we should go and
what the Phlog is that?
Let's take a look at. Yeah, it definitely there's some variation within the species. I'm glad.
It looks like the females have more in line with the dinosaurs TV show.
Yeah, not the mama. Phlogs. Phlogs first mentioned in the children's book How the Ewoks Saved the Trees. In that story, Wicket and Nisa encounter 2 Phlogs attempting to chop down some trees. So the kids, go figure, just like our show, the kids use some magic sleeping powder made by Logray to scare them into running away. In that book, it establishes Phlogs as having a green skin, and they look a lot more goblin-like.
Yeah. Shrek-like.
Yeah, very much so. This is their first appearance in animation, and indeed it is. That's it. There is no more. Phlogs, they're a giant sapient species standing roughly 20 meters tall.
Is that a Zentradi?
It is.
I love you.
with males being larger than females. Now, that puts them roughly on par with the Zentradi from Macross/Robotech. They are naturally.
I don't know who else that solves the equation for, but that, you know how what like crystal clear painting that is for me. That's beautiful, bro.
They are naturally peaceful creatures, but can be pushed to anger and violence, especially when their young are threatened. Go figure.
Makes sense.
According to legends, Phlogs can be found throughout the galaxy, being used as a labor force or as thugs. Of course, that's
what kind of thug would that be?
Like legends material.
Hand over your money or he'll step on you.
Stomp the crap out of you. Yeah, really. The band of Phlogs that we meet in this episode are another case of a species becoming stranded on Endor. It is theorized that the Phlogs arrived on the same ship as the Gorax. That's one of the monsters from Caravan of Courage.
Right.
And they may actually be from the same planet. So I want to talk about, I said I had some discussion about scale, and that's, I definitely, at 20 meters, I'm like, well, that's as tall as a Zentradi warrior. So I included that. But also, I took this particular image where it shows the family around that tree. That's a walkway, by the way, going up the tree.
A spiral staircase.
So I took Wicket, and I scaled Wicket down to what I thought would be reasonably appropriate for the staircase. And then it becomes clear to me that the scale of the Phlogs shifts throughout the episode based on how close, especially if they're holding somebody in their hands, they are scaled down much, much more so that they don't just consume whatever it is that they're holding. But yeah, I thought you would appreciate the Zentradi, Hank.
That's dope. Love
it. No problem. All right, getting back to our plot, let's just kind of go through this organically. The whole thing opens up with Nisa and Latara rafting down a river, and they get talking about they
don't need boys.
Yeah, Nisa's teasing Latara about, oh, Tebow,
there's one boy you'd like to see.
Yeah, and she's like, I don't have it that bad, do I? Anyway, the raft gets bowled over by a strange wave, and as the girls take a look, they realize that a band of Phlogs has wandered into their portion of the forest, and the girls think it's time to beat feet home to warn the village that the Phlogs have apparently wandered a little too close. We get there. And it looks like Logray and Chirpa are kind of holding court, as it were, discussing what to do about it. The girls come in and say the Phlogs have returned.
They're like, are you sure? No, I saw another 200-foot creature.
Yeah, exactly.
Seems suspect because they were talking about them.
That's true. At this point, we get another interesting. We talked about romantic connections last episode or episode before.
Yep.
Looks like Milani is kind of sweet on Wicket.
Smitten.
Is that the word for it?
I think so.
We also get one of those things I was talking about before about overarching plot points across the course of the season. And she makes a point. Do you like my new hood? Chief Chirpa gave it to me himself.
That's right.
And then it slides over her eyes just like it did when he put it on her in the first episode. So there's some consistency there, which I thought was kind of cute. Well, Logray,
I'm almost an adult, so you can ask me out to go berry picking
or hold hands.
That's right.
Or hold hands. And Wicket kind of spurns her by saying, Milani, can you keep it down? I can't hear the elders.
Mean old Wicket.
I mean, she's just barely been hooded. So, I mean, we don't know at what age an Ewok gets their hood, but certainly they're portraying her like she's significantly younger than the rest of them.
Somewhere in between the walklings.
Yeah.
And like you get the impression that these Wicket and them are like, just preteens, and that she's more like
teenager.
Yeah, yeah,
six,
yeah.
7 kind of.
7, yeah. I agree with that. Logray has some words of warning for them. He's like, "Oh, well, if that's the case, then we need to stay out of their way." And he makes a point to say, "Don't make them angry," almost like it's foretelling.
You wouldn't like them when they're angry.
Don't make them angry.
Bill Bixby.
Funny how do they turn into green again when they get angry?
Nice.
Maybe they grow a little bit more.
I do like the fact that when we go back to the Phlogs, by the way, the Phlogs have their own entire language. And it's not just a bunch of like grunts and growls.
It's repetitive words for sure.
For sure. Enough so that we do end up learning their names.
Casca.
What I like here is that they've just like smashed together a playpen for him by like jamming some trees into the ground.
Yeah.
The father Phlog entertains the child with a bush of some kind where he blows the leaves off of it.
Yeah, the equivalent to a dandelion.
And then for some reason, he's got to go and move a rock. And I don't understand the purpose of moving the rock other than it's a distraction so that the baby can get away.
It's a big rock and he needs the littler Phlog to help him.
I guess.
So
the older son Phlog.
Yeah. Because you definitely get that, fine, I'm coming, Dad.
Yeah. And then
if I know anything about anthropology, when you don't understand something in a foreign culture, it's probably religious practice.
So our infant Phlog spots more of the pink bushes off in the distance and immediately just bams his way
Nice.
out of the playpen, smash, and then just crawls away. But then in the course of going after the trees, he encounters a predatory feline saber-toothed cat looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then immediately does and I will love him and hug him and call him George.
And it runs away.
And totally scares the crap out of it. And it ends up running away from the Phlog. Which leaves us an opening for Morag and her Yuzums to show up. Morag uses her staff to essentially hypnotize the young Phlog, and they end up taking him away just as Mom Phlog realizes that her baby is missing, and she starts freaking out, and they end up following the baby's footprints. This is an interesting point too. I got a slide for this one because this one has some interesting ramifications. They find where he was sitting, and left in its place is an Ewok hood, bow, and a couple of spears/arrows. And immediately the parents are like, "Our Ewoks!"
Once again, it's an elaborate third-party plot to incriminate like if she could just walk up and hypnotize giant, like you'd think she'd just walk up and except for the fact that she is like somehow equally checked by Logray, and we're not sure exactly how yet. For some reason, she can't go on the direct offensive, but she's got these. I guess it's classic supervillain stuff, like this intricate plan involving all these other,
Well, let's talk about a couple things here. We get another new species in this episode in the form of the Zakul. That's the predatory feline. Zakul, predatory feline, native to Endor, introduced in this episode. They do show up again in season 2, looking slightly different, from purple to black. Now, there are no other references to these in Star Wars media, and we never see them again.
Well, it's probably good they didn't show up in Return of the Jedi.
No. The other thing from this scene, I want to go back to this for a second and talk about the hood and stuff, because that brings up a whole lot of questions for me, and it makes Morag a much more complex character when you sort of posit these questions. Has Morag killed?
Probably.
I mean, sure, she could have stolen them, but like the father Phlog picks up the hood and he makes a point to sniff it. So he's working on scent alone. He doesn't just see the hood and automatically presume Ewoks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, could she have conjured up some Ewok scent? I don't know, maybe.
She seems more like the type that would create an elaborate plot to get a Duloc to steal an Ewok hood.
That
You know, as part of the, like, if what we've seen from her tracks, because that's exactly kind of my point with her, these elaborate, and it is, I guess, trope for all supervillains that rarely do they just walk up and stab a guy when that seems to be the most straightforward, you know, like walk up and hand Superman, like shake his hand with a kryptonite watch on and
No,
I
you're
win.
right. You're right. That's
but,
true.
But it's always this megalomaniacal plot. So I'm gonna put it in that camp because that's the face she showed us so far.
I just think you can't rule out the possibility that she might have.
Yeah, depending how long the war has been going, right?
Yeah. Well, and there's another question because there's a line from her in this episode that makes me go, wait a minute.
How old
is she really?
Yeah.
How long has she really been there?
If she and Logray were lovers, then that's his old hood.
Well,
you can go crazy if you want.
That's an interesting thought too. Did we get to the with the Phlogs? Did I include? I don't know if I did. Maybe I didn't. Let me go back here. Wait, whoa. There we are. There it is. The language thing. Like you said, there's enough recurrence. We actually get all of their names.
Oh, crazy.
So dad's name is Zut. Mom's name is Doba. The teenage son is Hum. And the infant is Naki, which we hear an awful lot. Naki. Yeah, exactly.
Another thing with Morag this episode, she's just floating. She's like levitating through the forest.
I thought I saw that back in episode 1, but it was over like a high up shot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she could be doing like the what's that alien movie where they just kind of like float with their, like they don't move even though they're walking.
Oh, Mars Attacks.
Yeah. It could have been the Mars Attacks thing, but no, this episode, like
visibly multiple times she is floating.
Absolutely like an inch or two or inches off the ground.
Yeah.
Floating.
Levitating.
David Blaine.
Force levitation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So okay.
Goddamn wasms.
Oh, there. Speaking of floating, there she is right there, floating in the Duloc camp.
Mm-hmm.
So she takes Naki to the Duloc camp and basically impresses upon King Gornish to babysit the young Phlog, while the parents basically exact their revenge and rampage all over the Ewok village.
And it's the third episode in a row with babysitting elements woven into the plot, I think.
That is true. We get a diaper change in this one.
We do. But the other thing here, you had wondered last time if she was going to call in that favor from the shaman.
I did. I wondered if this was it. I don't think it is.
It is not, because she looks and says, well, why wouldn't you want to do me a favor?
I think that's because
it's not like you owe me one. She's like, do me a favor.
I think it's do me a favor or else.
Yeah.
Right. It's under the pretense of,
there's you owe me. It's just do it.
Or I'll take the time to hypnotize you.
No, exactly. And you'll do it anyway.
It's crazy.
And then, of course, Gornish is like, okay, fine, we'll do it. And then immediately gets, and I will love him and hug him and call him George.
Yep.
By Naki. We cut back to Wicket, Nisa, Tebow, and Latara, who are now, I guess the meeting is over. We're all to stay out of the Phlogs' way, so now we can go and play.
Yeah. But
Milani's
first. She's out there.
Oh, that's true. Flowers. She's out in the flower.
Because she's like, a few steps ahead of them. Because she crosses the same tree branches, and then
they don't notice her.
No,
which is weird. And then they're up in the tree while she's down on the ground. And while she's picking flowers, she overhears them talking. First, it's I think it's Nisa and Wicket joking about, Latara and Tebow.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, we just talked about this. I can't remember the line.
They're like, oh, I like Milani, far away from me.
Yeah, that's exactly what he says. But Milani overhears it, and she's been spurned once at the meeting, but now it's like, it's like when the little brother or little sister wants to hang around, and you don't want them to hang around your friends so you just say something cruel, and well, that's kind of what happens here. And
she looks at me like Tebow looks at Latara.
Yeah, that's
Latara
exactly
looks at Tebow.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what she says. And that just really upsets her, and she ends up running away. But Before that, you can see the little, I don't know what you call this thing, a mouse flying
mouse bird thing
that she's playing with. And it seems to take a very keen interest in what's going on. It ends up coming back to the group, and basically Tebow once again displaying his affinity for animals.
Crazy.
Has an entire conversation with this thing. So we should probably get to that, I think.
Take that, Ezra Bridger.
Well, I just wanted to get your take on that, Hank, because that's the first thing that I thought of.
So I do have a kind of a thought on this, and it's, I guess part of it is that when we, if we're attributing other human traits or other sort of like, they're in the wheelhouse with early natives, North American natives, or maybe even older monolithic Europeans in like that tech, like that wheelhouse, right? So
yeah.
I'm thinking that I lost my train of thought.
They're spiritually aligned with nature.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. That's sort of what I was getting at. So a lot of it can come from like wood lore, like the elves, or just that level of attunement. And then I think there's force sensitivity that on top of that. And if we want to like sort of canonize it, well, certainly we've been told now that every thing has midichlorians. It's just degree to which, and that I could say easily that's force-like ability. I think it's a natural ability inherent to, say, an Ewok, the ability to communicate like on some level to get by in the forest, so that the crazy cat-like creatures don't eat you, but that his is elevated by the force to do that, because they all look to him.
Oh yeah.
Play those tricks like a few times in the first 3 episodes.
I want to counter that. I want to talk about the creature itself. It's called a Munyip. Now, what number are we here? Munyip 3. Okay, hold on a second here. Munyips, they are a small flying squirrel-like creature native to Endor. Munyips are friendly and often can be found interacting with Ewoks. In fact, the way that they're presented in this episode, especially this particular one that does a whole literally song and dance, suggests that this creature may in fact be fully sentient. Because it's not like it's Timmy fell down the well.
No, it fully recognizes that she heard something.
No,
and
absolutely.
Made her cry.
Yeah.
This is way before that canon, but is it capitalized in the
so that's funny. I thought about that. It's not.
Right. But that convention came way later.
Much later. Of course, the Munyips were invented for the cartoon, but they did get canonized. They show up in the 2015 Star Wars Battlefront.
Nice. No way.
So they technically do exist in canon.
Crazy.
Just want to say hello to Joe Fan 84. Hello, sir. Welcome to the show. So that's interesting, because going back to the Tebow thing, just give me a second here. Going back to Tebow's his animal affinity, it's a two-way street, because not only is he completely cognizant and understand, he's able to communicate back in a way that as if they had a common language. We'll see that again later in the episode when he does it with the humming people.
And I mean, we really see, and it's different when we see Ezra do it, but it's like very similar. Like, he'll call a ride and it will let him ride it. Like, right. I trust that it's coming, because I just space talk to this thing with my telekinesis. So let's just jump off a cliff. It'll be fine.
That's right. It'll be there. It'll be there. It's all good.
And it is there. And somehow it also understands I'm now your steed, or I'll do your other, so there's this level of back and forth there.
I do like
it's
that.
It's a little understated, but this is more sort of direct. Like this.
I was going to say, I like Ezra's, like it's kind of esoteric. It's kind of like, it's kind of hokey-ish. Like it's, you get the fact that it's more impressions and energy feel. This is like a two-way conversation.
Yeah. It's my least favorite thing about what has been done with Disney Star Wars after. Hi,
Sarah.
Is that they've watered down that ability by giving it to just every Jedi can do it now. And I just really love that was like a thing that was sort of Ezra's.
I
The same
talked
way
about
that
before too.
The same way that the Force telekinesis was kind of like, what's the Cal Kestis, the touching of the
yeah.
the echolocation or
yes, that's it. Yeah, the Force Echo.
Right. Or even there's one other. Oh my God, from the Ventress novel,
Quinlan Voss.
Quinlan Voss had it, but it's rare. It's like there's these abilities that you are like specialize in, or you are innately good at. Like I understood that ability with creatures was a thing you were born with.
I always felt
couldn't
that
be taught.
I always felt that was one of those special things that not every.
Right. So while I wanted to love Ahsoka with everything I had, I found it disconcerting that she could just go space whale, do what I want.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I mean, it doesn't break anything for me.
No.
Becomes part of the repertoire.
But it takes away something special from Ezra for me.
Well, and I guess that takes away from Tebow. All right, getting back to the plot. All right, so Milani's upset. She runs off into the forest, and then the Munyip runs up to Tebow, who says, "You said something to my sister that made her cry." And Wicket is immediately remorseful and is like, "I got to go find her." But then, of course, the good friends that they are, they're like, "Well, don't go alone. We'll go with you." Because you couldn't see that one coming.
Of course not.
All right. And of course, as they tear off into the forest, they don't find Milani. Instead, they find...
Well, they find a bush rattling, and Wicket's like, "Milani, are you in there?"
Yeah,
he's got a little club. And then all of a sudden, the Phlog just whips the trees open.
What part of the Phlog was rattling the bush? Is my
exactly. He just stuck his toe in there and wiggled.
Big toe, big toe.
I'll accept toe.
Big toe. Toe. All right. Running down away from the Phlog, they happen to run out of the forest, finding a hollow log. Oh, quick, everybody, get in the log.
I kind of question that. Like, it's not exactly armor.
I guess
like, you probably would have done better just to keep running.
It was funny because when the Wicket started to push on it, I said aloud while I was just now, "That's not how physics works."
If we just start hamster wheeling this, it will roll. Come on, everybody, try it.
Yep.
I just did they think that they were fast enough to dive in the log before it saw them?
Maybe.
I got the impression it just watched them do it. I know you're in there.
Then it would pick it up and smoke them. Have the Phlog master fire.
Like an Ewok dart gun.
Oh my God. They get the thing rolling and they barrel it over the cliff. It smashes against some rocks and they all are spilled into the river in the gorge below. Meanwhile, back at the Dulot camp, the lady Umwa Gornish is making a sludge.
She calls it Glock.
Yeah, I couldn't find a reference on that. It makes me wonder, did Morag give them the recipe? Is that what they feed their own young? Is that a Dulot specialty? What is this?
I don't know, but they got all the ingredients for it.
How much is this kid going to eat? This is the third batch already.
Yep.
Yeah. Which I thought was funny. But then this is the funny part where it's like, uh-oh.
He's still crying. What's wrong with him?
Yeah, the shaman checks it, checks his diaper, and it's literally like a what? Really?
Oh, I love the speech.
You can't smell it?
My fellow Dulocs, honor and reward awaits anyone who's brave enough.
Yeah.
Where'd everybody go?
Where'd they go?
God damn it.
And
Roll
then we
credits.
Get the diaper change. I like it's a product of its age, right? In 1985, he's got the bone in his mouth like it's a safety pin.
Right. Right.
But then immediately decides, well, that's done. I'm going to go take a nap now, and I'll just tie you off to this stump, and you'll be fine.
You're not going nowhere.
Keep in mind the trees, bam, bam,
right.
And away he went.
There's a scale problem with the stump too, because it grows depending on plot.
Well, exactly.
It's pretty small when they tie him to it, and then in the next scene, he's trying to push it through trees, and suddenly it's an 8-foot long
Absolutely.
tree.
Yeah. Yep.
I kind of find it's funny too that the rope just is strong enough to pull the tree right out of the ground when he grabs it.
That's got to be an Ewok rope.
Completely effortless.
That's an Ewok rope. That's what that is.
Well, they are in the swampland, so the ground's softer.
That's true. That is true. And like you say, we get to get out into the forest, and suddenly we're stuck between two trees and upset. And who should find Naki but Milani, who befriends the young tyke by removing the rope
from the log, not the kid.
Right.
No, don't untie the kid. Yeah, I was wondering if she was going to do both, but then didn't.
Well, it makes sense later when
It also
Wicket
makes you
and
wonder.
Tebow go Indiana Jones.
Makes you wonder if Ewoks have something like Kenders have, like a natural immunity to fear. Like, they never appear. You know what I mean? Like they have a healthy. Let's not get killed, but we haven't seen them like quaking in their boots. Maybe assorted characters, but generally they're pretty fearless.
In the context of the show so far, not really.
They are brave. They are bold.
That's true. Like our storytellers told.
That's right.
Yeah. I think we get some of that in the live action movies. Certainly the little bit that I watched to get the shots of the bird creature from last week depicted Wicket as sort of being quite fearful of the creature.
Oh, okay.
Well, they do turn tail and run when the Phlog first kicks the trees down at them.
No, that's true.
But
that is true. So yeah, she's got a new friend. They end up smelling a new batch of the gruel, which I should have mentioned. This is the Dulocs who've now discovered that the baby is missing.
Yeah,
have whipped up a new batch of the gruel to try and lure the child back, which works, by the way.
Yeah.
And as they run out. Of course, he runs off with Milani in hand, but not before Tebow and Wicket grab hold of the rope and just let themselves get dragged along, all the way back to the Duloc camp where they're promptly taken prisoner.
Where are we? You're not gonna like it.
Meanwhile, we've got Logray and Chirpa along with Latara and Nisa, who are camped out at the top of the hill, kind of watching things unfold as the Phlogs are now getting closer to the village.
Just winging boulders.
Yeah. As it's yelling at him, Logray, again, translating, understands the Phlogs and says, they say we stole their baby. And of course, Chirpa's like, we would never do that. And then they figure it out, but somebody who would, and immediately they pin it on Morag. Correctly pin it on Morag, by the way.
Right.
But then a rock gets tossed by, I guess that's the dad. I think that's the dad. Zut throws a rock. It smashes the cliff, causing Latara and Nisa to fall. And Logray, who we've kind of, suggested might be a force user, chants.
Totally a force user.
And I listened. It's hard to hear what he's actually saying, but it is clearly a chant.
Right.
He waves his fingers, chants something, and a tree bends, whoop, and catches the girls as they're falling. Chirpa's like, you saved them, my old friend. And we should probably take a second and talk about that.
I mean, if that's not the force, I don't know what it is. Like, and in terms of everything that's going on, it just makes sense. The medicine man has that ability. The Tebow is apprenticed to the medicine man, has that ability.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that extra layer. Like got that impression that in the Tales of the Jedi episode where Ahsoka's born, the witch doctor woman.
Oh yeah.
That is
with
some sort of
berries.
Force user of this ilk.
Like, yeah. I mean, I always like to go back to like the role-playing game because it was had a knack for spelling everything out for you because they had to contextualize it with a rules set. But this is very much what we would call an alternate force using tradition.
Right. Absolutely.
This one just reminds me of what did I say, Harry? Where is it? Oh yeah. Logray overtly uses the force. He literally bends a tree to catch the falling Nisa and Latara, much like the witches of Dathomir and Brendok. He speaks a chant, making it more akin to magic than what we would consider force use. But clearly, that's what he's doing.
I mean, look at that outstretched hand. That he's lifting an X-wing. Water right there. Like
that's the same as there's Vernestra basically, opening the door.
Oh yeah. Well, I think Logray's putting a whole lot more effort into it though.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. He's grabbing his head and
that whole grabbing the head thing. It's like, oh, is he physically taxed when he does this?
Yeah.
He's pretty old.
Well, it's comic book trope too, to show you that he's using mental ability to do this. It's like if Professor X didn't do this every time, he would just sit in a wheelchair every issue, right?
I've always said that. Talking about the role-playing game for a second, I've always said that, like, the whole waving of the hands thing, that's for our benefit.
Yeah, totally.
There's nothing that says you have to gesture to use the Force.
I wouldn't think.
I argued that all the time as we were playing as teenagers. Like, I don't need to wave my hands to use the Force. I just make it happen.
Force. It's funny because like that. In the Deadpool Wolverine, Cassandra Nova makes the distinction between her and Charles.
Yeah.
She has to use her hands.
Oh, she's to be in physical contact.
Right.
Well, not always.
No, that's true.
Because she wasn't physically in contact with that one guy who got.
Oh, no. That's, I was going to say that is also
that one guy.
Wow.
You know, that one guy. Are we talking spoilers yet or no?
You got a match?
Save that for a Tuesday.
Anybody got a match?
So yeah, for sure, low gray Force user.
Heavy. Let it out.
Back at the Duloc camp, everybody is, the girls, having been caught by the tree, hop down from the tree and they're like, we got to go find them. Yeah. And off they go. And of course, where do we find them? We find them secured at the Duloc camp. I'm looking at that skeleton and I'm like, if the horns weren't backwards like that, I'm like, Tauntaun? Are they in a Tauntaun?
Maybe it's an Endor Tauntaun.
Yeah, the horns being flipped around backwards. And I don't know, like I tried to look up native species of Endor and I didn't come up with anything that even had
matched
reverse horns like that. Did the Bordock have horns?
I don't know.
I think it did, but they were like
short. They were tiny little, short, like ram-like horns on the top.
Yeah. Well, Milani, who's just sitting there. Funny, Milani's not tied up.
Well, she's just little.
With Naki, and the girls are brought in. Look what we found, and are immediately the kids are put to work making the gruel.
See, babysitting subplot now.
Yeah, we've gone from babysitting.
There's an A plot and a B plot, and they both revolve around babysitting.
That's true. That is true.
King Garnish, welcome to the Duloc Nursery.
I like how Milani's like, oh, hey, so and so, and others. As she's, shoots Wicket a pretty stern look.
Oh yeah.
Yep. He tries to apologize to her, and I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I guess I have to put it from the perspective of being a child that, people say things they don't mean, and kids say things to be cruel, not knowing the consequences,
the full ramifications.
Say. But it makes me wonder, like, is Wicket like is he a bit of a jerk? He seems genuine enough in his apology.
I mean, is it? I mean, it still is a little jerky, but is it? I guess it's more jerky to talk around behind somebody's back. But I always say things like saying something like a slur or something to a person's face is way worse than reading aloud from a book that has that slur in it.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And so I don't know that I think he's pretty genuine here. Plus, they're trying to teach kids, like in '85, we were still trying to teach kids what to do. That was correct. There's a morality structure going on in cartoons.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
I think it's pretty genuine. His first reaction was, I got to go after her.
That's true.
Have said that shit.
It really fits sort of in my own spectrum, my own compass. It's like, man, if you don't mean it, don't say it, because once you said it,
I get it. When you're a little kid,
said it. No, you're right. Yeah, as a child doesn't have the capacity to understand the consequences.
There's also that peer pressure. We're with a bunch of other people joking around about that topic. What about that girl that likes you?
Oh, that's so true. Yeah,
right. So you get caught up in that sort of catty behavior with your peers too.
Yeah,
I forgive him. I hope she does.
As Thibaut and Latara are slaving away over the gruel, they hatch a plan to basically put the Dulocs to sleep. But in order to do that, they're going to need some help from these birds called humming peepers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of cool. Thibaut gets to use his power to ask the birds, the humming peepers, to do their thing. And what they end up doing is they become Latara's backup band as she hauls out her flute and starts playing the lullaby.
Wait.
And
well, it starts out with Nisa just humming it to
Nisa
baby
steps
Phlog.
up to the mic.
And then the queen, she's like, "Oh,
what are you
you're
doing?
Gonna serenade the Dulocs now?
What are you doing?
It's the king's daughter."
Yeah,
exactly.
And then
I just watching Tebow do this thing and watching Luke. I want to watch Logray and Tebow off-world romping around the galaxy. that would be the best.
Yeah. Man, I said it 2 weeks ago with Marvel launching an Ewok comic series.
Right.
My gosh, I hope there is more Ewoks in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, I would like to see more with them in canon.
Yeah.
An untapped resource.
I'll say
Fandor
again.
and Grogu meet the Ewoks.
Yeah.
I mean, we almost snapped when we thought we saw an Ewok on the bridge of Home One. Remember?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like in that still before it was conclusive.
Yep.
I was tripping for a day and a half.
Oh my god, Ewoks. I would have liked that.
Yeah.
Anyway, the lullaby.
But they're singing their lullaby, and Tebow is like, "Okay, wait, go."
Yeah. Yeah, and then the humming peepers join in, and it's this beautiful little serenade. And I immediately thought of Avengers, and it's like, take that, Black Widow. We need a lullaby. You need a Tebow and a Latara and Nisa. They'll give you a lullaby.
Put your Hulk to sleep.
I thought that was quite cute, actually. Wait a minute, where we're at here? Humming peepers, right? Let's talk about those, because I don't think there's much more to say about them. Let me just find them here. Where are they?
Like, I was just curious. Are they like amplifying her ability to put them to sleep through song? Do they have a hypnotic nature? Do they were they huffing on something in those plants they were around, and then now they're huffing that out,
or expelling it to the Dulocs?
Right. Humming peepers are hummingbird-like creatures that appear here for the first and only time, and apparently their singing can help put people to sleep. There is next to nothing on them.
Platium. That's fine. That's great.
So they're native to Endor. Good enough.
Humming peepers.
And they also make baby Phlogs extraordinarily light in the next scene.
Yes, they do.
I was thinking about that too. I'm like, how did they pull that one off?
Right, because two of them can't stop him with a rope, right?
No.
He just drags them effortlessly for kilometer after kilometer.
No, but four of them, I guess Latara is on the other side. Four of them can carry Naki and Milani as they sleep. As they run them out back to the village. Speaking of the village, this is the thing I was saying. Oh, it's too bad I cropped two images together, but apparently my bordering recognized them as two separate images. Imagine there's no green line there.
Yeah, it kind of repeats there for a second.
As I was saying, I was pretty impressed. Like, I wasn't seeing a lot of reuse, and then I realized that as the camera pans across the row of catapults, it's the same dude in front of everyone. Like,
it's just the establishing shot. It's okay.
And then we get Paplu up there with the war horn. Still didn't get the
drop ball,
which is too bad.
We could at least go back in and edit that in the Lucas cut.
I'm gonna have to get that. I'm gonna have to put that on the mixer so we have it as a sound pad.
There you go.
And of course, it's time to ready your weapons, as Chirpa says. So we got Weechi and Whittle and some no-name guy who's both standing there with a bow and loading a catapult at the same time.
Yeah, they're good to go.
I just noticed that now. But then Deej, the dad, Deej is loading up the catapult as everybody comes running back with the baby. The Dulocs wake up and realize, oh my God, we got to get the baby
before Morag finds out.
So they take off to go and find him. At the same time, the battle erupts and they start shooting. They shoot one of the catapults.
I love the sound effect here because it's like a plink, and he's like, huh?
It's contrasted, right? Because when they fire the rock, it's like from the catapult, and then at the other end, boink! It's like a pebble. Yeah, and then of course they stomp the catapult. Morag, who's been absent for a little while, suddenly shows up, and she's cackling maniacally as she says, I want to bring that up because she says a line here that this is the line that made me go, what?
I will revel this for centuries.
Yeah. Where is it here? There it is. She cackles, "What glorious sabotage! I shall cherish this moment for centuries." And it's like, wait a minute.
How old do you plan
How
to be?
old are you that, sure, her species could be really long-lived, I suppose, and maybe
Yeah.
maybe this is
Yoda's species, Wookiees live a century or so.
That's true. I just think, the way that so far the way things have been established is that she's another transplant.
She could be related to Kiadi Mundi, having never been born, existed always.
There you go.
Her relationship to Logray, I always got the impression that they were of similar age.
Yeah, totally. Me too. I mean, she could be at the low end of that long. That's funny, Joe. It could be at the low end of that long lifespan, perhaps.
Oh, maybe. Maybe. I just thought, oh wow, either she's going to live a long time, or she has lived a long time,
right? Or both,
because of her species.
I feel like
aging.
Yeah, to me, the line suggested that she had been around for a while. Like, oh yeah, this will sustain me for.
Or maybe this is actually who taught Pelagius.
Oh, really?
And she could just come back and back. Somehow, Morag has returned.
At this point, Naki wakes up. He wakes up and he's fairly upset as he's crying, and that causes a lull in the battle as the rest of the family turns to see what's going on. Of course, the kids are like, "Oh God," they don't know what to do.
Well, they're like yelling, "Stop, stop, stop!" But nobody hears them because they're too tiny.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, the baby cries. And it's like, "Oh, we hear him."
Well, I mean, listen, any mother will tell you in a crowd of 100 people, if their child cries, they know it's their kid, right? Yeah. So we get the whole like, oh no, we're friends. They're friends. That's Naki.
Especially because of Milani.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Naki points out that no, they're my friends, as they stand there kind of like, everybody but Milani. She's all like smiles and stuff. The rest of them are a little like apprehensive about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Of course, the Dulocs show up at the same time. Hey, we want that baby back. And are promptly, we'll say, escorted away. Flushed.
They basically stomp and do the Hulk smash.
They're flushed, I guess. And they turn tail and run.
Yeah.
They don't get too far, though. At least Gornish and the shaman, who dive behind some foliage there.
What else could possibly go wrong, Master?
Nice.
Morag is there. She basically gives them the business.
The baby.
Yeah.
And then zaps them with force lightning.
Unleashes her bolt, another Omega beam from her staff that chases them again. Chases them, lashing at their behinds as they run for it. Oh my God.
Another line that comes up in this when Morag first leaves the baby with them.
Yep.
And like, oh, the Phlogs are going to go mess up the Ewoks. I almost feel sorry for the little fuzzballs.
Who said that?
King Gornish.
Oh, Gornish said that. Yeah.
Fuzzballs. Nice.
Almost like there's
or fuzzball or furball. Either way.
Still that there's
a
potentially some sympathy towards them. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah. Maybe more reinforcing the whole
these are the
thing.
These are the things that I'm looking for as we go through the season, is like little things that sort of like I said, overarching things that maybe don't by themselves don't mean anything, but related to another episode somewhere else.
Yeah.
So yeah, Milani gets the big hug, and we're all friends now. The father Zut comes over, basically rambles something in Phlogi.
Logray understands.
Phlogies. Yeah, exactly. And Logray, he says something. That's right, Zut. We are friends. And shakes his claw, and they all depart peacefully. And that is the episode.
Nice.
In a nutshell.
Nice. You missed one Easter egg. The Phlogs, most people don't know, was the original name for the band The Clash.
No, really?
No. No. But it sounds like it could be true.
Damn it, you had me there. Did I miss anything? Oh, I guess the last thing, and this really isn't a thing per se, but I thought it was worth mentioning because we did talk about it a couple of weeks ago. It is worth mentioning now that there is potentially a love triangle here with Milani liking Wicket, and the idea that Nisa and Wicket are romantically linked.
Can you say that about a kid's show? He's a pimp.
He is older.
Wicket the man.
He is older, yeah.
Wicked is the man.
Yeah, so that is Rampage of the Phlogs in a nutshell. Now that we've gone through it, what do you guys think?
It's still super cool for me to see them use the Force and really hone in on that stuff. I'm really enjoying that aspect of doing this with you guys.
I'm like I said at the beginning of the episode, this was simultaneously the most boring and yet the most interesting one for me. It's the little details though, like the Force use, the animal stuff. Anytime that something is introduced that makes me go, oh, what's that?
Right.
Like a weird name. I love that stuff. Love the details.
I want to see another live action where we go back to Endor, but we actually get to see all the freaky stuff, like the giant hippos,
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
yeah,
Ewoks, and the crazy cat creatures.
To me, this is like, I mean, come on. I know Lucasfilm, you're not paying attention to little guys on YouTube like us, but like if ever there was a gold mine to be picking from,
Yeah.
like why not?
I mean, it worked for Caravan of Courage and Battle for Endor. Have somebody else crash there again, but not near the Ewok village.
And not Art Carney.
No.
Oh wait, that he was on Kashyyyk, not Wilford Brimley.
Not Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, but have them crash land and make their way across the planet to Bright Tree Village.
That could be interesting.
That way you have to run into everything along the way.
Part of the issue, I think, is making an entire. Now, don't shoot me because yes, this can be done, and yes, there are examples. But when you make a product or a TV show or a movie where your main protagonists speak an alien language, you either, I guess you could do the Shogun thing and you just have them
subtitled.
You subtitle the whole thing and that's the way they talk.
Or they speak common.
Or they speak Galactic Basic.
Yeah.
But if we're going to go that far, let's not forget that the only reason Ewoks even exist is because there wasn't budget to do
Wookiees. Wookiees, yeah.
So I would love to watch a Wookiee show, like a homeworld Wookiee kind of like.
Yeah.
It's something we don't know enough about in Star Wars is their history and their, like when we do dive into that stuff for 5 seconds.
That missed opportunity in the
arguably for me, the best part of the Acolyte was the written Sherwook.
Oh, that was super cool.
Right?
Super cool. I honestly thought we were going to get something with the Bad Batch with Gunji, but that didn't happen.
It might pick up
always
later.
in motion.
When the cavalry showed up, there was no cavalry.
No.
So we're gonna have they had a casting call a little while, not a casting call, but an open job letter looking for an animation production at Lucasfilm, and it sparked Star Wars Meg had a video about it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Shout out to Meg.
Nice.
And it was interesting because she runs with things a lot, and she made a lot of sense though. If they're hiring a new production manager for an animated film at Lucasfilm, walks like a duck. Like an animated project.
Yeah.
Walks like a duck, talks like a duck. After having brought Ventress back for no good reason in the Bad Batch and leaving sort of a young adult Omega running off on her own, not knowing about the Force, like we could still get that dropped ball of Ventress training Omega at some point, like.
Having Omega a 20-something during the rebellion, like I know that maybe people are wanting to explore, and Star Wars has been doing that lately. Let's explore times and places that we've never been to before, but like that the dark times right up to the rebellion, that's my favorite era of Star Wars. I just love it.
Big time. A little bit. I love the idea that. And if you get a chance, read the comics. The area between Empire and Jedi is pretty great too, because it really is the apex of the Empire. Like they really take like that's the beginning of the end for them, and they're at the height of their power, having been just given that sort of blow with the Death Star, and they're on their heels for the first time. That's a wicked area to role play and to explore.
Yeah,
comics does a really good job of talking about how deep the crime families and that part of the galaxy is entrenched during that time, and how they basically come out on top in the Galactic Civil War.
Next week, when we come back, the next one, it's To Save Deej.
Not Deej.
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 TJC.
No, Deej.
I know. Said not Teach.
Not Teej.
Not Teej.
We don't need to say Teach.
Wow.
No.
The difference between a T and a D.
We would though.
Oof.
We would save
We
him.
would totally save Teej. Wow. I was like really caught off guard there for a second.
Who's on first?
I don't know who's
What's
on
on second?
All right. Save Deej when Deej is poisoned by a deadly fungus. What does it say here? His sons search for ingredients to brew a new cure. Logray's gonna have to magic us up something.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be cool. Yeah. So, what'd you guys think? We any more? Any more? I think
That's
we
about
could.
it.
Good little murder bears.
I'm having fun. This was a
This
good
one-
way to.
yeah.
This format is nice.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
we can
enjoy
do more of this.
Mm-hmm.
Try to pull out the salient points, the things that I think are worth talking about, and make more slides for those. But like instead of doing a line by line, which I know I'm long winded, I tend to do that. I do want to go back to Joe Fann's comment because that's pretty awesome. We saw a little bit about Wookiees in the Don't Speak of Christmas special. The Christmas special, which like Lucasfilm, especially George Lucas, would like you to forget about, but you just can't because they keep going back and mining things out of it.
Has anybody seen the documentary yet?
The what? The doc? No,
Not yet,
no.
Still
Now
haven't
that
either.
the unofficial,
Right.
yeah. I would like to.
Me too.
I mean, if Gormunda can be canonized,
Whipster.
whipster. I only got rid of that off the sound pads not too long ago. I wish I still had it, to be honest. But I mean, the Christmas special spawned
A lot.
I mean, we wouldn't be doing Ewoks if it wasn't for the Christmas special because there would be
No,
no
that's true.
animated short, which means Nelvana would never have been involved.
Got
No
their foot in the
Ewoks.
door.
No, absolutely. So the Christmas special, I don't think gets as much credit as maybe it deserved, or the holiday special.
So many people from my era have seen it. And the fact that it aired one time live.
Yep.
And that was it. And unless you videotaped it or I mean, now you can watch it wherever. Now, I mean, it's actually available wherever.
It's on YouTube. There's
on
a
YouTube, and there's a
reasonably good quality copy
absolutely,
of it on YouTube.
absolutely.
So
But the fact that so many of us did, and our parents let so many of us stop what we were doing and tune into wherever it was, CBC or whatever, at least in Canada, is actually remarkable to me. So you could say a lot about the quality, but there's something there that grabbed us all, and we what are we, 45, almost 50 years out from that, still talking about it. So
absolutely. If it didn't have Leia singing, it'd be better. Come on, it had Jefferson Starship in it.
Jefferson Starship.
Sean Colbert, never seen it yet. Wow. Oh my gosh, man.
Well, it's out there.
It is on YouTube.
The animated, the best part of it is on Disney.
That's right.
Plus
the Faithful Wookiee.
The Faithful Wookiee short, which is the first canonical. I don't know if it's canon. It's the first appearance of Boba Fett, though.
Well, technically, it is the first appearance of Boba Fett on screen.
Right. So he was in that parade.
He was in a parade. That is.
He was in the parade in George Lucas's hometown.
Right,
in the white armor
in George Lucas's hometown.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
That's very cool stuff though. And like I said, I wanted to do droids when we were discussing what to do next. You guys wanted to do Ewoks, so I was like 2-1. We're doing Ewoks, but like our Boba Fett voice actor from the holiday special is the same guy,
right,
in the animated series,
right, and his look is very similar.
It's exactly the same, and it's that Nelvana. With the Ewoks, it doesn't matter because that's canon for them. But like, look at all the human characters in droids. In C-3PO, they all have 3 fingers.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hallmark, a Nelvana hallmark. The 3-fingered hands, and that is consistent between the holiday special and the animated series.
3 is all you need. You still have a middle.
Nice.
How's that work?
That's the one. That's the one. So next week it's to save Deej. Before we get to that, Andy and I will be back on Tuesday night with another installment of Random Fandom. D23 was this weekend, so I can't imagine that we won't have some news about that to talk about. Of course, it's been talked about already. We haven't had a chance to talk about it, but we'll do that on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Have some other things to talk about as well, I'm sure. So do come back and see us on Tuesday if you want to see what's going on in the world of pop culture and entertainment. Otherwise, we'll see you back here next week for to save Deej as we do it here on Fandom Power on our little review series called Tales from the Moon of Fandor. I guess that's it for me, guys. What about you?
Yeah, man.
Have a good week, Pete.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Remember, whatever your thing is, fan on. And for Fandom Power, my name is Wes.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Hank.
And we will see you on the next one. Bye for now, everybody.
Manamachu. Goopa loopa. Gunda. Yep, yep. Manatutu. Goopa Goopa loopa.